Himanta Biswa Sharma campaigning relentlessly in the Karbi Anglong, and he had addressed as many as 19 political rallies, 19 election rallies in a span of 4 days. And there was absolutely no match by any other political party. The other political parties could not give a matcher to the campaign tempo that was built up and got into a momentum given by Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma. So that is reflected in the results now. The BJP leading in 23 seats, and in fact, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma during the course of his campaign, Priya, in Karbi Anglong, has said that the BJP in the state was taking these elections extremely seriously, and said that a victory in this election will mean that they are going to sweep the elections. They're going to sweep the elections as far as 2024 parliamentary elections are concerned. So the BJP taking those chances with the star campaigner and party strategies for the Northeast, Himanta Biswa Sharma personally leading the campaign from the front, and that is resulting in this kind of a trend that we are witnessing right now. And these are, of course, trends of the round one, for the first round of counting, and there are counting still going on. But if the trends are an indication, the BJP is all set to sweep the elections. If that happens, then it will be a role for the BJP that has won the 2021 assembly elections. After that, they have won the municipal polls, they have won the panchayat elections, and they have won the Rajya Sabha elections despite not having the numbers. They have won 2 seats to the Rajya Sabha and so on. And after that, now it is the Karbi Anglong polls, Priya.
Right, Wasbir, as you've already mentioned that the BJP is all set to sweep the elections. But Wasbir, it is to be mentioned here that Aam Aadmi Party is leading in 1 seat. So Wasbir, don't you think the Aam Aadmi Party is trying its presence to make its presence feel in Assam?
Well, you see, the Aam Aadmi Party is capitalizing on the debacle of the Congress party in the state, because the Congress has been continuously routed in election after election in Assam. And there is a vacuum for an alternative political party, and that is the vacuum that the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to fill. Like if you remember in the Guwahati Municipal Corporation elections, the Aam Aadmi Party had won 1 seat, and during the panchayat elections, they have managed to hold on to 1 panchayat in eastern Assam. And now, I am not surprised that the Aam Aadmi Party is leading in 1 seat in Karbi Anglong. Therefore, what is happening to my mind is that the Aam Aadmi Party is cashing in on a void that has been left behind by the Congress, which has been completely a party which has been beleaguered because of internal dissensions and other issues. And that is where the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to capitalize, and that is where they are going to they're trying to get a toehold in the Assam's electoral and political arena.
Right, Wasbir, thank you so much for all those details. So, viewers, the Bharatiya Janata Party is all set to sweep the elections, and the counting of votes is underway at this point in time. And if we look at the tally, then the BJP has already scored 23 out of the 26 seats. So the picture is almost clear. So the BJP is heading for a clean sweep in Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls. And meanwhile, we have reactions coming in from BJP leader and Cabinet Minister Piyush Hazarika. Listen in.
প্ৰথম যিখিনি দেখিছো বিজেপিৰ উত্থান দেখিছো মই আগতেও কৈ আছিলো কংগ্ৰেছ সিংগুল ডিজিটত নহয় মোৰ মতে শূন্যত থাকিব সিংগুল ডিজিটলৈ যাব নোৱাৰে শূন্যতে থাকিব শূন্য সিংগুল ডিজিটে কিন্তু শূন্যতে থাকিব
So it seems like the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in Assam. And well, if the latest trends are going to be believed, then the BJP is set to emerge victorious in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls. Well, the results of which will be announced likely by afternoon. And if we take a look at the tally, then the BJP is already leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. All right, we are getting live reactions from Pallav Lochandas. So listen in.
কোনো সিরিয়াসনেস নাই আপুনি ভূপেন বৰাৰ বক্তব্য চাব সব খুহুটিয়া কথা কিবা মিডিয়া মানে যাতে মোৰ নিউজটো আজি জেনে তেনে বাজে সেইটো তেওঁৰ মূল লক্ষ্য যে কংগ্ৰেছ দলৰ কি হ'ব লক্ষ্য নহয় যে আজি সন্ধিয়া অন্তত প্ৰাইম টাইমত মোৰ মুখখনত কিবা এটা নিউজ বাজিব নেকি সেইটোহে তেওঁৰ মূল লক্ষ্য যেতিয়া কংগ্ৰেছ দলৰ সভাপতিৰ যেতিয়া মূল লক্ষ্য তালে যাব তে কংগ্ৰেছ দল কেনেকৈ থাকিব মানে সেইটোৱে কবিতা কিয় লিখিছে জানে যে মই বাইট দিলে কি বাইট দিম তাতকে কবিতা এটা লিখো এইটোৱে যদি নিউজ বাজে তেওঁ এনেকুৱা মানে সন্ধিয়া যাতে মোৰ নিউজত কিবা এটা বাজে সাবষ্টেন্সিয়েল কথা একো নাই কিবা এটা এনেকুৱা কথা নাই যে বিৰোধী দলে যেনেকৈ ডেমক্ৰেচিত পাৰ্টিচিপেট কৰে ডেমক্ৰেচিত কিছুমান বিষয় উত্থাপন কৰে যিটোক লৈ শাসকীয় পক্ষও কিবা মন্থন কৰিব আলোচনা কৰিব তেওঁ খুহুতীয়া মুখ চুপতি কৰে তেওঁ 100% তেওঁ নিজেতো তালে পৰ্যবেক্ষিত কৰিছে কংগ্ৰেছ দলৰ প্ৰতি মোৰ দৈন্যতা মানে এনেকুৱা হৈছে যে আজি ভূপেন বৰা ডাঙৰীয়াই কংগ্ৰেছৰ এনেই কংগ্ৰেছ ধূলিসাৎ তেওঁ মানে মাটিৰ ভিতৰত ভৰাবলৈ লাগি আছে তেওঁ নিজে গাঁত খান্দি খান্দি কবৰ কেনেকে দিব পাৰি তেওঁ নিজে সদায় এবাৰ এবাৰ কোৰ মাৰে যিমান ইলেকশ্যন আহে তেওঁ নিজে কোৰখন লৈ গৈ মাৰি কবৰ খান্দাত তেওঁ আৰম্ভ কৰে চাওক নেতৃত্ব কাক কাক সলনি কৰিব যাকে কৰিব তেওঁলোক মোটামুটি একেই সেইটো কাৰণে তাত সলনি কৰিব তেওঁলোকে বেষ্ট পচিবল লিডাৰশ্বিপ দিছে আৰু ভূপেন বৰাই বেষ্ট পচিবল লিডাৰ যি আজি এই পৰ্যায়ত আছে সেইকাৰণে আমি তেখেতকতো মইতো ব্যক্তিগতভাৱে লগো পাইছো জানো তো সেইকাৰণে মই নাভাবো যে তেওঁৰ নেতৃত্বত আৰু য'ত ইফালে যদি চাই নৰেন্দ্ৰ মোদীত হিমন্ত বিশ্ব শৰ্মা অসমত আৰু ইফালে নেতৃত্ব ভূপেন বৰা মানুহেতো কম্পেৰিজন কৰিবই নহয় সেইকাৰণে মইতো আগতে এবাৰ কৈছিলো যে বুক ফেয়াৰত তেওঁৰ কবিতাৰ কাৰণে আমি অভিধীৰ অপেক্ষাৰে ৰখি আছো তেওঁৰ কবিতাখিনি কবিতা পুথি আমাৰ এনেকুৱা আছে আমাৰ আগত জেচিম ৰাজাহঁতে বহুত ধুনীয়া ধুনীয়া কবিতা লিখিছিলে তো সেইকাৰণে আমি জেচিম ৰাজাৰ কবিতা পঢ়িবৰ কাৰণে আমি বিৰাট আগ্ৰহ কৰিছিলো আগত তো সেইকাৰণে জেচিম ৰাজাৰ তেনেকুৱা কবিতা আমি পঢ়ি খুব ভাল পাইছিলো তেনেকৈ আমি ভূপেন বৰাৰ কবিতাবিলাকো যদি তেনেকৈ পাওঁ আমি ভাল পাম
মুঠতে এতিয়া কংগ্ৰেছৰ কবৰখনত ব্যস্ত
চাওক কংগ্ৰেছৰ চাওক কোনো আপুনি কংগ্ৰেছ দলৰ যদি পুৰা প্ৰত্যক্ষ কৰে আপুনি কোনো এটা জেগাত তেওঁলোক কোনো চিৰিয়াছনেছ তেওঁলোকৰ তাত নাই কোনো এটা বিষয়ক লৈ পেলাই তেওঁলোক নহয় খুহুতীয়া কথাৰে তেওঁ কথা কয় কেতিয়াবা কবিতা লিখে ক'ৰবাত খুহুতীয়া কথা কয় তেওঁ কোনো সাবষ্টেন্সিয়েল ভাল কথা নকয় যিটোৱে মানে শুনিব পৰা যায় আৰু সেইকাৰণে আৰু কোনো কংগ্ৰেছৰ এনেকুৱা এক্টিভিটিজ নাই যিটোক লৈ পেলাই আপুনি কেতিয়াবা কিবা মানুহে কিবা সমৰ্থন বা আকৰ্ষণ অনুভৱ কৰিব সেইকাৰণে কংগ্ৰেছ দলৰ আজি কোনো নীতি নথকা কোনো একো ব্যৱস্থা নথকা এটা হৈছে আৰু তেওঁলোকে কাৰ লগত তেওঁলোকে মিত্ৰতা কৰে কেতিয়া মিত্ৰতা ভাঙে মন গ'লে AIDFৰ লগত মিত্ৰতা মন গ'লে AIDFৰ পৰা মিত্ৰতা নোহোৱা কৰে আকৌ ৰাজ্যসভাত বিচাৰিব মানে কোনো এটা ষ্টেটিক মানে নিয়ম নাই যেনে ভাল হলেও বেয়া হলেও মিত্ৰতা আমি ৰাখিম এইটো কৰিম কোনো সেইকাৰণে নীতিবিহীন যেতিয়া ৰাজনৈতিক দল হয় তাক ৰাইজে কেতিয়াও সমৰ্থন নকৰে
Thank you.
All right, viewers, so now I'm being joined live with our Chief of Bureau, Arindam Das, who is right there outside the counting center. So, Arindam, we are getting reports that the BJP is leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. So, what's the scene there? You're right there, Arindam.
Yes, the initial trend has started emerging, and in all the 26 states, in 25 seats, BJP is leading. The round one is complete in almost all the 26 constituencies, and in those 26 constituencies, BJP is leading in 25. Only in one seat, that is Sorupothar constituency, the independent candidate there is leading, and apart from that, on all the 25 seats, BJP is leading. So the first round has been completed in almost all the 26 constituencies, and it is the initial trend after the first round that we are reporting to you right now.
So it's a clear indication, Arindam, that the BJP is all set to sweep the elections.
Yes, BJP is all set to sweep these elections because we have seen that right from the campaigning stage, the BJP took this election as a very high-profile election. We have seen star campaigners, in fact, the Chief Minister of Assam himself leading the campaigning, and he has addressed as many as 19 rallies in a day span of 4 days across length and breadth of Karbi Anglong. But whereas on the other side, if we see the opposition parties, we haven't seen that enthusiasm from the opposition parties right from the campaigning. It was all the BJP banners, flags, and the booths that were seen across Karbi Anglong. But the opposition party was seen to be missing here. And in fact, right now also, on the counting day also, we are seeing that the initial trends which is emerging right now, BJP is all set to sweep these polls because we have come to know that in all the 26 seats in 25, BJP is clearly leading way ahead of the other parties. And in fact, in only one seat, BJP is trailing somewhat behind. But this is just the initial trend. As the day progresses, the trend will become more clearer because you see this voting process took place through ballot papers and not through EVM. So the counting of ballot papers takes a lot of time. And in fact, just now it's 12 now, and only the first round is completed in the 26 seats. So you can imagine the number of rounds that are going to come, and it might in fact reach the midnight for the entire counting process to end because there are many constituencies, 26 constituencies, and the largest constituency is the Lambojang constituency, where alone around 70,000 voters are there. To count those 70,000 votes, it will take a lot of time. So Lambojang constituency's result, that is where the Difu town is included in the Lambojang constituency, that constituency's result might emerge in the late night hours. But in the other seats where the number of voters are less, the number of polling stations were less. So in those constituencies, the results will start emerging sooner. In fact, we'll get to know the results in the afternoon only in those smaller constituencies. But for the larger constituencies, it will take some time because the counting of votes might go till late midnight.
All right. So, Arindam, tell us about the security arrangements there.
Well, you see, by and large, if we see the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council election has remained peaceful. There are only two incidents of violence. One was only when the campaigning ended 48 hours before the polling. A polling a party office of the BJP was vandalized in West Karbi Anglong, and on the polling day, almost when the counting process ended, it was around 4:30 that violence broke out in two polling stations in West Karbi Anglong, and in those two polling stations, recounting had to be done to ensure free and fair polls. So, apart from these two incidents, by and large, the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council election has turned out to be very peaceful, and in fact, a heavy security deployment has been made across Karbi Anglong for these elections. In fact, apart from the apart from the existing forces of Assam Police and paramilitary forces which were present here, additional companies of Assam Police as well as paramilitary forces were brought here to man the entire Karbi Anglong area. In fact, we have been told by the administration or the police that a three-tier security arrangement has been made at all the polling counting stations. Right now, I am at the Difu Government High School, and likewise, there are two more counting stations in Karbi Anglong. One is at Hamrin, and the other is at Borzan. So, in all the three counting stations, which were also the strong rooms for this election, a heavy security deployment has been made. In fact, a three-tier security arrangement has been made to ensure that no untoward incident takes place.
Right, Arindam. So we are also getting visuals of celebrations where celebrations have already started. So have the supporters of BJP already arrived in counting centers to celebrate? Can you see them, Arindam?
Well, you see, it is just the initial stage because the counting process will take a lot of time. As the polling process has been done through ballot papers. So just now only the first round of counting has been completed. So the candidates or the supporters of various parties will start coming to the polling station only after some time. Maybe in the afternoon they will start coming, where we can see celebrations here at the polling station, at the counting station, and also outside this counting stations. But right now, we haven't come across any of the candidates who were in the fray for this election. So, but yes, when probably when 2 or 3 rounds will be completed, when a clear picture will emerge, the candidates will start coming here, and we will witness celebrations all around.
All right, Arindam Das, thank you so much for all those details. So, viewers, the picture is almost clear. The Bharatiya Janata Party is heading for a clean sweep in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls. And as I've already mentioned here, that the BJP is leading in 25 seats, and in one seat, one independent candidate is leading. So that our Chief of Bureau, Arindam Das, is right there in one of the counting centers in Tifu. And these are the latest trends that we are getting in at this point in time. So, and also, let me tell our viewers here that the BJP is leading in 25 seats out of the 26 seats. Well, talking about the security arrangement, well, a three-tier security has been put in place for the counting of elections. I beg your pardon, for the counting of votes. And meanwhile, elections for the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls took place on June 8th, and the polling was by and large peaceful, except for 2 incidents of violence in West Karbi Anglong. And now counting of votes is underway. The counting of votes began from 8 a.m. Our Chief of Bureau, Arindam Das, is right there to give us all the latest updates. And as per Arindam Das, the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is leading in 25 seats out of the 26 seats. And one seat, one independent candidate is leading. So that is what we got from our Chief of Bureau, Arindam Das, who is right there in Tifu. So the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in Assam. And as I've already mentioned, that Chief Minister, star campaigner, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma, he campaigned in 19 political rallies in 4 days. So the campaigning was too good by the BJP. And that was no match in other political parties. So the BJP is getting their results now. So the Bharatiya Janata Party is heading for a clean sweep one more time in Assam. So we will keep you updated in our later bulletins, but moving on now. Well, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma is conferring a 2-day DC conference at the Tezpur Convention Centre. It is learned that the conference will review the implementation of the government policies and schemes, besides focusing on other major areas. Worth mentioning here, this is the second DC conference to be chaired by Chief Minister Sharma, the first being held in Difu on August 2021.
ডিষ্ট্ৰিক্টে আধা ঘণ্টাকৈ তেওঁলোকৰ ডিষ্ট্ৰিক্টৰ প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন দিয়া আৰম্ভ কৰিছে। মইতো ভাবোঁ ৰাতি প্ৰায় 1-1:30 বজালৈকে এই প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন চলিব। অহাকালি বিভিন্ন ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ, বিভিন্ন ভূমিপুত্ৰৰ ওপৰত বা মিছন সদ্ভাৱনাৰ ওপৰত বা আমাৰ কেনেকুৱা বানপানীৰ ওপৰত, তেনেকৈ আমাৰ পেডি প্ৰকিউৰমেণ্টৰ ওপৰত কেইবাটাও আমি ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ কালি প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন হ'ব। এতিয়া মন্ত্ৰীসকলো থাকিব, যি ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন হ'ব মন্ত্ৰীসকলো থাকিব আৰু ছিনিয়ৰ মোষ্ট ছেক্ৰেটাৰীগৰাকীও থাকিব। এই 2 দিনৰ কাৰ্যসূচী সেইখিনিয়ে। গোটেই কথাটো হৈছে যে অসমৰ সামগ্ৰিক পৰিৱেশটোক আৰু আগুৱাই লৈ যাব লাগে। আমি শক্তিশালীভাৱে কাম কৰিব লাগে, সমৃদ্ধিৰভাৱে কাম কৰিব লাগে, উন্নত অসমৰ কাৰণে কাম কৰিব লাগে। আমাৰ বাহিৰৰ পৰা যদি কোনোবাই অসমত ইনভেষ্ট কৰিবলৈ আহিছে, যাতে আমি লেণ্ড একুইজিশ্যনৰ সমস্যা সোনকালে নাইকিয়া কৰি দিব পাৰোঁ, আমি যাতে প্ৰ'এক্টিভ এডমিনিষ্ট্ৰেশ্যন এটা চলাব পাৰোঁ আৰু যাতে আমি সকলোকে যাতে ন্যায় দিব পাৰোঁ। মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰী ডাঙৰীয়া এটা কথা অলপ আগতে কৈ আছিলে যে শিক্ষক দিৱসত শিক্ষকসকলক আমি পুৰস্কাৰ দিওঁ, কিন্তু সাধাৰণতে কি হয়, সাধাৰণতে পলিটিচিয়ানৰ ৰেকমেণ্ডেশ্যনত শিক্ষকৰ আমি মাপকাঠি বা শিক্ষক আমি ভাল শিক্ষক বাছি উলিয়াওঁ। সেইটো যাতে নহয়, যোন সঁচাকৈ ভাল শিক্ষক তেওঁলোকে যাতে পুৰস্কাৰটো পাব লাগে। আৰু আমাৰ ভৱিষ্যতে আমাৰ এনেকুৱা এটা দিন, আমি 5 আগষ্টত আমাৰ গোপীনাথ বৰদলৈ ডাঙৰীয়াৰ মৃত্যুতিথিত অসমৰ কৰ্মচাৰীসকলক, যিখিনি গেজেটেড নহয়, নন গেজেটেড, তেওঁলোকে যোনে ভালকৈ কাম কৰি আছে তেওঁলোকক পুৰস্কাৰ দিয়াৰ ব্যৱস্থা কৰাৰ কথা কৈছে। তাতো যাতে কোনো ধৰণৰ মোৰ লগত ভাল, মোৰ লগত বেয়া, তেনেকুৱা কথাবিলাক যাতে নহয়। যিসকল অনেষ্ট হয়, পলিটিকেল ইণ্টাৰফাৰেঞ্চ নাথাকে, ব্যক্তিগত ধ্যান ধাৰণা নাথাকে, যিসকল অনেষ্ট, যিসকল বেষ্ট, তেওঁলোককে যাতে দিয়া হয়, তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কথাবিলাক মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰী ডাঙৰীয়াই ডিচিসকলৰ আগত অৱগত কৰিছে। অহাকালি বিভিন্ন ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ মানে সকলো ডিপাৰ্টমেণ্টৰ নহয়, 10টাৰ পৰা 12টা প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন আছে। অহাকালি সেই মন্ত্ৰীসকলো থাকিব আৰু ছিনিয়ৰ মোষ্ট ছেক্ৰেটাৰীসকলে সেই প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন আগুৱাই দাঙি ধৰিব।
And on to some sports news now. On the eve of the second T20 International against South Africa, Team India held a training session in a packed Barabati Stadium in Qatar. Looking at the crowd in the pictures, one would think that they are from the practice session before the toss on match day. But such was the excitement in Qatar that people swarmed in just for the training session. International cricket is returning to the Barabati Stadium on Sunday after 2019 when India took West Indies on in an ODI. Sharing pictures from the training session on social media, the official handle of the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or BCCI, wrote, "Match day feels on a non-match day. A packed stadium here in Qatar to watch Team India train." Well, the BCCI shared pictures of Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, Shreyas Iyer, and Umran Malik from their training session with the stands filled up behind them. India head into the second T20 International having lost the series opener after South Africa chased down 212 with 7 wickets to spare. Well, sensational effort by experienced India goalkeeper P.R. Srichesh and an on-target attack in a thrilling shootout saw the Indian men's hockey team defeat Olympic champions Belgium 5-4 in the FIH Hockey Pro League match in Antwerp on Saturday. It was a penalty stroke saved by Srijesh off an attempt by Nicholas de Kerpel during the shootout that ensured India were victorious, while Harmanpreet Singh, Abhishek Lalitabadhyay, Shamsher Singh and Akashdeep Singh converted for India. Well, earlier during the regulation time, India's men's hockey team held their nerves, making a brilliant comeback in the final quarter to overcome a 1-3 deficit, only to hold Belgium 3-3 and take the encounter to a thrilling shootout where both teams lived up to the billing as they built on their rivalry from end to end in a packed stadium. It was goals from Harmanpreet Singh and Jarmanpreet Singh that brought India back to the game in the fourth quarter after Shamsher Singh opened the scoreboard in the second quarter, while Cedric Charlie, Simon Gongnat and Nicholas de Kerpel scored for the reigning Olympic champions. And moving on now. In a special goodwill gesture to its spiritual neighbor, Mongolia, India is sending 4 holy relics of Lord Buddha to be displayed for 11 days at a Batsagan temple in Ganden Monastery of Ulaanbaatar. The sacred Kapilvastu relics is being flown to Mongolia in 2 special bulletproof caskets on board an Indian Air Force aircraft today, along with a 25-member Indian delegation led by Union Law and Justice Minister Kiran Rijiju. The relics believed to contain Gautam Buddha's remains are part of the collection on display at the National Museum and were last part of a multi-city display in Sri Lanka in 2012. They were accorded a AA category status by the Archaeological Survey of India on account of their rarity and delicate nature, and it was also decided that they will not be sent out of the country. However, an exception was made for Mongolia following a special request from the Mongolian government and considering India's long-standing diplomatic ties with its third neighbor in the east. Incidentally, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first Indian premier to visit Mongolia in 2015. He had visited the Ganden Monastery, where the relics will now be displayed, presented a Bodhi tree sapling to Hamha Lama, and defined India and Mongolia as spiritual neighbors during his address to the Mongolian parliament. Well, news and updates continue on Northeast Live, so stay tuned for more news.
Huge news channel in the region. On YouTube, unmatched coverage.
Himalaya Purifying Neem Face Wash. এও এক্সপার্ট কেনে কই?
এটো ক্লিনিক্যালি প্রুভেন হয় যে ইয়ার আছে নিম আৰু হালধিৰ এন্টিব্যাকটেৰিয়েল গুণ যি পিম্পল আঁতৰ কৰে আৰু স্কিন কৰি তোলে একেবাৰে হেলদি।
বাহ!
Himalaya Purifying Neem Face Wash, pimple free healthy skin or expert.
মই ব্যৱহাৰ কৰোঁ আটাইতকৈ সবল আৰু সতেজ চিমেণ্ট সূৰ্য চিমেণ্ট। সূৰ্য চিমেণ্ট অটুট ঘৰ অটুট অসম।
গুড মৰ্নিং খুৰা, একাপ আদা দিয়া চা।
এই আমাজনী
মোদীজী মোৰ পৰিয়াল। বাৰু খুৰা, আপুনি দেৱালত কিয় লিখিছে মোদীজী মোৰ পৰিয়াল? প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰীয়ে আপোনাক চিনি পায় নেকি?
চিনিতো নাপায়, কিন্তু আমাৰ দুখ তেওঁ সহ্য কৰিব নোৱাৰে।
মানে
নুবুজিলা? ঘৰে ঘৰে বিনামূলীয়া ৰাচন যোগান ধৰে, বেজী দিয়ালে, আৰু মাজনী সংকটত যোনে তোমাক লগ দিয়ে তেওঁহে প্ৰকৃততে পৰিয়ালৰ।
বুজিলো খুৰা, আপোনাৰ পৰিয়াল বেষ্ট হয়।
লোৱা চাহ খোৱা।
Evening Prime, the primetime news at 7. Now, in a whole new look. Only on Northeast Live. Your station, your voice.
Northeast Live every weekend talk show on upcoming and hidden talents from Northeast and beyond. Watch Showtime with me, Aaron Lingdor, only on Northeast Live. Watch Showtime with me, Aaron Lingdor, every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Well, hello to all the viewers and welcome to Afternoon Headlines. I'm Aaron Lingdor. We begin with a big story. It seems like the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections. Well, if the latest trends are anything to go by, then the BJP is set to emerge victorious in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls, the results of which will be announced by afternoon. Well, if we take a look at the tally, then the BJP is already leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. Well, meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party and the regional party UDFS are leading in 1 seat each. However, these are only early trends. Now, votes are being counted at Bjp, Hamren and Bokajan. Now, a 3-tier security has been put in place for the counting. Elections for the KAAC took place on June the 8th. The polling was by and large peaceful, except for 2 incidents of violence in West Karbi Anglong. Well, this is the big story we're tracking this afternoon. It seems like the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections. Well, if the latest trends are anything to go by, then the BJP is set to emerge victorious in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls, the results of which will be announced likely by afternoon. Well, if we take a look at the tally, then the BJP is already leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. Now, meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party and the regional party UDFS are leading in 1 seat each. Well, however, these are only early trends. Votes are being counted at Bjp, Hamren and Bokajan. Well, a 3-tier security has been put in place for the counting. Elections for the KAAC took place on June the 8th. The polling was by and large peaceful, except for 2 incidents, if you recall, of violence in West Karbi Anglong.
প্ৰথম যিখিনি দেখিছো বিজেপিৰ উত্থান দেখিছো মই আগতেও কৈ আছিলো কংগ্ৰেছ সিংগুল ডিজিটত নহয় মোৰ মতে শূন্যত থাকিব সিংগুল ডিজিটলৈ যাব নোৱাৰে শূন্যতে থাকিব শূন্য সিংগুল ডিজিটে কিন্তু শূন্যতে থাকিব
Well, it seems that the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections. Well, like I mentioned earlier, these are just early trends, and if it's anything to go by, then the BJP is set to emerge victorious in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls, the results of which will be announced by afternoon. Well, if we take a look at the tally, then the BJP is already leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party and the regional party UDFS are leading in 1 seat each. Well, joining me on the broadcast this afternoon is our Chief of Bureau, Arindam Das. Arindam, if you can hear me, seems like the BJP's hard work in the run-up to the elections has finally paid off if we go by the early trends that we see at the minute.
Yes, that is the initial trend which we are getting, that the BJP is all set to sweep this Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections. In fact, the BJP took this election very seriously. It was stated by the Chief Minister of Assam as well as other ministers, all the leaders who were on campaigning here. They stated that it was a very important election for them, and in fact, they have turned it into a high-profile election. In fact, we have seen that the BJP had done a high-profile campaigning here across the length and breadth of Karbi Anglong. In fact, the Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, was spearheading campaigning. He had addressed 19 rallies in a day span of 4 across the length and breadth of Karbi Anglong. Apart from the other ministers or the MLAs who were campaigning here, we have come to know that the Chief Minister engaged 70 MLAs of the BJP to camp here in Karbi Anglong and do the campaigning. And it's the hard work that's bringing results now. In fact, the BJP was very confident from the beginning that they are bent on winning this election. They are bent on winning all the 26 constituencies. So right now, the initial trend is coming out. In fact, round 1 has been completed in all the 26 constituencies, and in all those 26 constituencies, in 25, BJP is leading way ahead. But only in one constituency, that is Sorupathar, an independent candidate is leading by a small margin. But this is just the initial trend. The latest trend will start emerging only when the day progresses, because this voting took place through ballot papers and not through EVM. So EVM counting takes less time, whereas ballot papers counting takes a lot of time. In fact, the counting is likely to go ahead in the day. It might, in fact, go till late midnight when the actual results will come out. But yes, the smaller constituencies where the number of voters are less, the results will, or the trends will come early. In fact, we'll get to know the results of some of the smaller constituencies where the number of voters are less in the afternoon hours, or maybe in the early evening. But for certain constituencies like the Lumbojang constituency, which includes the town of Difu, which is around 70,000 voters. So in that constituency, the counting is likely to go till late midnight. But for the smaller constituencies, we will get to know the results even in the afternoon.
So Arindam, let's dwell a little bit on the Aam Aadmi Party here, a new entrant, and obviously it will take some time for them to establish their base. However, is it a cause of concern at all?
Well, yes, they are definitely. We have seen that the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to make inroads into the politics of Assam and the Northeast. In fact, we have seen how the Aam Aadmi Party took the municipal corporation elections in Guwahati seriously, or the other municipal boards elections across Assam seriously. In fact, the Aam Aadmi Party had won 2 municipal board elections, one seat in Lakhimpur and the other seat in Jorhat. In fact, in the last Guwahati Municipal Corporation elections, the Aam Aadmi Party was able to secure one seat in Guwahati. So right now here also in Karbi Anglong, the Aam Aadmi Party is leading in one of the constituencies. So that is in fact a matter of concern for the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, because the Bharatiya Janata Party has taken this election very seriously, and in fact they have given much importance to this election. And as I mentioned earlier, that this election has been turned into a high-profile election where we have seen the star campaigners like the Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, spearheading the elections campaigning. In fact, he had addressed the 19 rallies within a day span of 4 across the length and breadth of Karbi Anglong. So apart from the Chief Minister of Assam, the various ministers were also campaigning here during the campaigning, and apart from the other MLAs. So definitely it is going to be a matter of concern if the leading trend of one seat where Aam Aadmi Party is leading ahead of the BJP, it will be a matter of concern for the BJP, because BJP wants to secure all the 26 constituencies here in Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council.
Yes, so Arindam, before I let you go, I want to take you back a little bit because you've been following the elections very closely from day one. Let's talk a little bit about the aspirations of the people. What are the people of Karbi Anglong voting for?
Well, you see, Karbi Anglong, as we know, has a history that it was a trouble-torn area. Several militant groups were active here. We have seen day in and day out bloodshed here in Karbi Anglong, where several ambushes took place, several killings of civilians took place. There were encounters. So it was a very trouble-torn area. But right now, peace prevails in entire Karbi Anglong district, and the people right now want that there should be overall development, and it is the development plan that the BJP is moving ahead. In fact, in the campaigning also, we have seen that the main issue which the BJP has put forth was the development of Karbi Anglong. As I have mentioned, that the BJP took this election very seriously. In fact, it is a very important election for the Bharatiya Janata Party, whereas on the other side, we have seen that there was not much of enthusiasm from the opposition parties like the Congress or the other parties. In fact, some of the regional parties have taken the campaigning very seriously. And in fact, in several seats, they are able to give some sort of competition. In fact, they are trailing, but they are able to give some sort of competition to the Bharatiya Janata Party. But overall, if we see that the election here in Karbi Anglong, the trends which is coming here right now is that the BJP is all set to sweep the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections, and in fact, in only one seat, it's the Aam Aadmi Party which is taking lead ahead of the BJP.
All right, well, Chief of Bureau there, Arindam Das, thank you so much for your inputs. We will get back to you as and when developments unfold. Counting underway in Karbi Anglong at the minute. Thank you for your inputs. Well, meanwhile, our editor-in-chief, Wasbir Hussain, spoke to KAAC CM Tuliram Ronghang a short while back. Let's listen in to that conversation.
I am now joined by the outgoing Chief Executive Member of the Karbi Council, Mr. Tuliram Ronghang. Tuliram Ronghang Dangoria, itimodhe result ulua arambo hoi goise. First trendot BJP is leading in 24 of the 26 seats. Apunar first reaction to ki hobo?
Reaction ikunai je moi on behalf of the people of Karbi Anglong, moi apnar Northeast Life of Things disu for apni interview loba karone tarasot Karbi Anglong raijot dhonnobad disu je yat Karbi Anglong raije eta change bicharaise. Karbi Anglong raije eta develop bicharaise. Karbi Anglong manuhe unemployed problem solve koribo bichare. Gotike government logot jitu niki BJP government eke BJP government ase raije bhal paise aro Karbi Anglong raije mane Honorable Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, dynamic and energetic Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, and Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. এই দুজন লিডাৰশ্বিপত মানে কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে থাকিব বিচাৰে আৰু কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে মানে এটা পিচ এটা থাকিব বিচাৰে, শান্তি এটা বিচাৰে। লাষ্ট 5 yearsত এটা কোনো ক্লেছ নাই, কোনো জাতি জনগোষ্ঠীৰ লগত কোনো ক্লেছ নাই। আগতে এথনিক ক্লেছ বহুত আছে কাৰ্বি আংলঙত।
সো আপুনি এইটো ক'ব বিচাৰিছে তুলিৰাম ৰংহাং ডাঙৰীয়া যে এই ভোটটো যিটো বিজেপিৰ পক্ষত যিটো ভোট হৈছে আজি, যিটো ৰিজাল্ট আজি ওলাইছে, সেইটো পিচ আৰু ডেভেলপমেণ্টৰ কাৰণে ৰাইজে বিজেপিক ভোট দিছে।
ৰাইট।
So you're saying that it's a vote for peace and development?
Yes, peace. People need peace and development and all-round development in Karbi Anglong and West Karbi.
Right. আৰু মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰী ডক্টৰ হিমন্ত বিশ্ব শৰ্মা ডাঙৰীয়াই যিটো 19খন ইলেকশ্যন ৰেলী কৰিলে, আপুনিতো ইমান দিন ৰাজনীতি কৰিছে, আপুনি আগতে কোনো মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীয়ে কাৰ্বি আংলং অট'নমাছ কাউন্সিল ইলেকশ্যনত এইদৰে কেম্পেইনিং কৰা আপোনাৰ মনত আছেনে?
নাই, দেখা নাই। নাই, এইটো হিষ্ট্ৰীয়ে নকয়। ইয়াৰ আমাৰ কোনো চিফ মিনিষ্টাৰ এনেকে এবাৰ দুবাৰ আহে খালি।
আৰু এইটোৱে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ প্ৰভাৱ পেলালে? মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীৰ ব্যক্তিগত কেম্পেইনটোৱে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ প্ৰভাৱ?
মানে মেক্সিমাম ক্ৰেডিট goes to honorable chief minister for election campaign.
Right.
Maximum goes to honorable chief minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma. Credit goes to.
আৰু আপুনি যদি আকৌ এবাৰ দ্বিতীয়বাৰৰ বাবে যদি আপুনি কাউন্সিলটো লিড কৰিবলৈ যদি আপুনি সুযোগটো পায়, আপোনাৰ ফোকাস আৰু আপোনাৰ মেইন প্ৰায়োৰিটি কি হ'ব?
Main priority to all-round development in Karbi Anglong and West Karbi Anglong, number 1. Number 2, unemployed problem solve কৰিব লাগিব ইয়াতে। ইয়াত unemployed বহুত আছে, ইয়াত unemployed youth educated বহুত আছে, সেইবিলাকৰ সমস্যা আমি সমাধান কৰিব লাগিব।
আৰু কংগ্ৰেছ পাৰ্টিয়ে যিটো এতিয়ালৈকে ট্ৰেণ্ড যিটো ওলাইছে, তাত এটাতো কংগ্ৰেছে আগবাঢ়ি থকা নাই, কিন্তু আম আদমি পাৰ্টিয়ে এটা চিটত আগবাঢ়ি আছে, আপুনি সেইটোত কি ক'ব?
এইটো মই নকওঁ, কিন্তু আমাৰ দলৰ মানুহে কিছুমান এটা এইটো আমাৰ নিজৰ মানুহে এইটো কিছুমান কৰা হৈছে, এইটো সময় আপোনাক কম মই।
ঠিক আছে, হ'ব, থেংক ইউ, অশেষ ধন্যবাদ। That was Tuliram Ronghang, the outgoing CEM of the Karbi Council, talking to Northeast Live. Thank you very much.
All right, well, the counting is underway in Karbi Anglong at the minute, like you heard it there as well from the CEM KAAC, that they're looking at peace and the overall development and of course unemployment. These are some of the aspirations of the people of Karbi Anglong. We will bring you all the latest updates as they come in from ground zero.
প্ৰথম ৰাউণ্ডটো সমাপ্ত হৈছে। 12খন টেবুল, 12টা পিএছ বোকাজান। 12টা টেবুলত আমি প্ৰায় 930টা মানৰ ভোটত অগ্ৰগতি লাভ কৰি আছোঁ। আৰু টোটেল 4টা ৰাউণ্ড হ'ব। 4টা ৰাউণ্ডত ইতিমধ্যে এটা ৰাউণ্ড গৈছে। এটা ৰাউণ্ডত আমি 930টা ভোটত লিড লৈছোঁ। টোটেল 2427 ভোট পাইছোঁ। আমিতো 7টাৰ ভিতৰত 7টাই জিকিম বুলি আমি এছেছমেণ্টত ওলাইছে। এতিয়া চাওঁ কি হয়। ফাৰ্ষ্ট ৰাউণ্ডটো খতম হৈছে, 4টা ৰাউণ্ড হ'ব। টোটেল আপোনাৰ মোৰ যেনেকৈ 4টা ৰাউণ্ড হ'ব, কাৰোবাৰ 5টা ৰাউণ্ড হ'ব, কাৰোবাৰ 3টা ৰাউণ্ড হ'ব। তো প্ৰথম ৰাউণ্ডত গম পোৱা নাযায়, কোনোবা অলপ চলপ ভোটত লিডিং লৈ আছে বা কোনোবা পিছ পৰি আছে। কিন্তু আমাৰ মোটামুটি 5টা সমষ্টিত আমি লিড লৈ আছোঁ। আৰু বাকী 2টা পিএছৰ এতিয়ালৈকে গণনা চলি আছে, গম পোৱা নাই।
জয় হ'বনে?
জয় হ'ব। কিমান ভোটত জয় হ'বতো ক'ব নোৱাৰোঁ, কিন্তু জয় হ'ম। এতিয়া ফাৰ্ষ্ট ৰাউণ্ডটো আমিয়ে জিকিছোঁ।
আমাৰ সফলতা হ'বই। বিজেপি চৰকাৰে আমাৰ গঠন কৰিব, সেইকাৰণে আমাৰ মনৰ বহুত ৰং, বহুত ভাল লাগিছে আজি। আমাৰ কেণ্ডিডেট আমাৰ দুৱাৰ বাগুৰি, আমাৰ ৰিচাৰ্জ টকবি, আমাৰ কেণ্ডিডেট এই জিকিবই। এইটো আমাৰ ডেভেলপমেণ্ট, আমাৰ দুখীয়া ৰাস্তা, পানী, সেইবোৰে কৰিব। গতিকে আমাৰ বহুত আজিৰ কাৰণে দিনটোত আমাৰ শুভ দিন, আমাৰ মনটো বহুত।
Well, it seems like the BJP is heading for a clean sweep one more time in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council elections. Well, if the latest trends are anything to go by, then the BJP is set to emerge victorious in the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council polls, the results of which will be announced likely by afternoon. Now, if we take a look at the tally, then the BJP is already leading in 23 out of the 26 seats. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party and the regional party UDFS are leading in 1 seat each. However, these are only early trends. Now, votes are being counted at Deephu, Hamren, and Bokajan. Well, a 3-tier security has been put in place for the counting, and elections for the KAAC took place on June the 8th. The polling was by and large peaceful, except for 2 incidents of violence in West Karbi Anglong. And meanwhile, our editor-in-chief, Bjp Hussain, spoke to KAAC CM Tuliram Ronghang a short while back. Let's listen into that conversation.
I am now joined by the outgoing Chief Executive Member of the Karbi Council, Mr. Tuliram Ronghang. Tuliram Ronghang Dangoria, itimodhe result ulua arambo hoi goise first trendot BJP is leading in 24 of the 26 seats. Apunar first reaction to ki hobo?
Reaction একো নাই যে মই on behalf of the people of Karbi Anglong মই আপোনাৰ নৰ্থ ইষ্ট লাইফত থ্যাংকস দিছো ফৰ আপুনি ইন্টাৰভিউ লবার কাৰণে তাৰপিছত কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যত ধন্যবাদ দিছো যে ইয়াত কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে এটা চেঞ্জ বিচাৰিছে কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে এটা ডেভেলপ বিচাৰিছে কাৰ্বি আংলং মানুহে আনএমপ্লয়েড প্ৰবলেম সলভ কৰিব বিচাৰে গতিকে গভৰ্ণমেণ্ট লগত যিটো নেকি বিজেপি গভৰ্ণমেণ্ট একে বিজেপি গভৰ্ণমেণ্ট আছে ৰাজ্যে ভাল পাইছে আৰু কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে মানে Honorable Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, dynamic and energetic Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, and Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. এই দুজন লিডাৰশিপত মানে কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে থাকিব বিচাৰে আৰু কাৰ্বি আংলং ৰাজ্যে মানে এটা পিস এটা থাকিব বিচাৰে শান্তি এটা বিচাৰে লাষ্ট 5 ইয়াৰ্সত এটা কোনো ক্লেশ নাই কোনো জাতি জনগোষ্ঠীৰ লগত কোনো ক্লেশ নাই আগতে এথনিক ক্লেশ বহুত আছে কাৰ্বি আংলঙত
সো আপুনি এইটো ক'ব বিচাৰিছে তুলিৰাম ৰংহাং ডাঙৰীয়া যে এই ভোটটো যেটো বিজেপিৰ পক্ষত যেটো ভোট হৈছে আজি যেটো ৰিজাল্ট আজি ওলাইছে হেতু পিস আৰু ডেভেলপমেন্টৰ কাৰণে ৰাইজে বিজেপিক ভোট দিছে
right
so you are saying that it's a vote for peace and development
yes peace people needs a peace and development and all round development in Karbi Anglong and West Karbi
Right. আৰু মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰী ডক্টৰ হিমন্ত বিশ্ব শৰ্মা ডাঙৰীয়াই যেটো 19খন ইলেকশন ৰেলী কৰিলে আপুনিটো ইমান দিন ৰাজনীতি কৰিছে আপুনি আগতে কোনো মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীয়ে কাৰ্বি আংলং অটোনমাস কাউন্সিল ইলেকশনত এই দৰে কেম্পেইনিং কৰা আপোনাৰ মনত আছে নে
নাই দেখা নাই তো হিষ্ট্ৰীয়ে নকয় ইয়াৰ আমাৰ কোনো চিফ মিনিষ্টাৰ এনেকে এবাৰ দুবাৰ আহে খালি
আৰু এইটোৱে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ প্ৰভাৱ পেলালে মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীৰ ব্যক্তিগত কেম্পেইনটোৱে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ প্ৰভাৱ
মানে ম্যাক্সিমাম ক্ৰেডিট গোজ টু অনাৰেবল চিফ মিনিষ্টাৰ ফৰ ইলেকশন কেম্পেইন ম্যাক্সিমাম গোজ টু অনাৰেবল চিফ মিনিষ্টাৰ ডক্টৰ হিমন্ত বিশ্ব শৰ্মা ক্ৰেডিট গোজ টু
আৰু আপুনি যদি আকৌ এবাৰ দ্বিতীয়বাৰৰ বাবে যদি আপুনি কাউন্সিলটো লিড কৰিবলৈ যদি আপুনি সুযোগটো পায় আপোনাৰ ফোকাস আৰু আপোনাৰ মেইন প্ৰায়োৰিটি কি হ'ব
main priority to all round development in Karbi Anglong and West Karbi Anglong number 1 number 2 unemployed problem solve কৰিব লাগিব ইয়াতে মোট ইয়াত unemployed বহুত আছে ইয়াত unemployed youth educated বহুত আছে হেবিলাকৰ সমস্যা আমি সমাধান কৰিব লাগিব
আৰু কংগ্ৰেছ পাৰ্টিয়ে যেটো এতিয়ালৈকে ট্ৰেন্ড যেটো ওলাইছে তাত এটাটো কংগ্ৰেছে আগবাঢ়ি থকা নাই কিন্তু আম আদমি পাৰ্টিয়ে এটা সিটত আগবাঢ়ি আছে আপুনি হেতুত কি ক'ব
এটো মই নকওঁ কিন্তু আমাৰ দলৰ মানুহে কিছুমান এটা এইটো আমাৰ নিজৰ মানুহে এটো কিছুমান কৰা হৈছে এইটো সময়ক আপোনাক কম মই
ঠিক আছে হ'ব থ্যাংক ইউ অশেষ ধন্যবাদ that was Tuliram Ronghang the outgoing CEM of the Karbi Council talking to Northeast Live thank you very much
And we have reactions coming in from the BJP leader and cabinet minister Piyush Hazarika. Let's listen in.
প্ৰথম যিখিনি দেখিছো বিজেপিৰ উত্থান দেখিছো মই আগতেও কৈ আছিলো কংগ্ৰেছ সিংগুল ডিজিটত নহয় মোৰ মতে শূন্যত থাকিব সিংগুল ডিজিটলৈ যাব নোৱাৰে শূন্যতে থাকিব শূন্য সিংগুল ডিজিটে কিন্তু শূন্যতে থাকিব
And these are live visuals on your screen coming to us from Bokajan. Like we mentioned earlier, voting underway. The results will be announced likely by afternoon. Our correspondent standing by there for us to give us all the details. And like we said, well, early trend seems that the BJP is leading here, but we're not jumping the gun until and unless we have the final results for you. And shifting focus now, the Union Minister Anurag Thakur came all guns blazing against those behind the unrest that has raised serious concerns pertaining to law and order situation. While briefing the media, the Union Minister said that the unscrupulous entities are attempting to create law and order situation. Now, in this regard, Anurag Thakur also sent a message to West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The Union Minister maintained that while certain sections are making an all-out effort to misguide the youths, the BJP is ensuring that the youth get a new lease of life through the development initiative undertaken by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government.
हमारा काम है खेलों को बढ़ावा देना। कुश्ती बहुत पुराना खेल है, दंगल हो ये बहुत आवश्यक है और देश भर में हमने सुविधाओं को भी बनाया है मोदी जी की सरकार में। लेकिन जो आपने दंगों की बात कही, वो कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो समाज में तनाव पैदा करके ऐसा वातावरण खड़ा करते हैं कि आम जनमानस का आम जीवन भी प्रभावित उससे होता है, देश की छवि भी खराब होती है। और जिन युवाओं के हाथों में कोई स्पोर्ट्स इक्विपमेंट होना चाहिए, खेलने का सामान होना चाहिए, उनके हाथों में वो पत्थर देने का काम करते हैं। इससे उनको बाज आना चाहिए, क्योंकि आज का युवा राष्ट्र निर्माण में जुड़ना चाहता है, ना कि राष्ट्र को तोड़ने के लिए आगे बढ़ना चाहता है। ऐसे राजनीतिक दल जो इसके पीछे लगते हैं, ऐसे लोग जिस मानसिकता के साथ आते हैं, उनके खिलाफ कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
प्रदेश सरकार ने इन मामलों पर अपना कड़ा रुख अख्तियार किया, लेकिन जो है झारखंड और दूसरे राज्यों में हिंसा की घटनाओं में तेजी आई है, तो उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
कानून व्यवस्था राज्यों का विषय है और मैं कहना चाहता हूं, जिस तरह से पश्चिम बंगाल में भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के ऑफिस में आगजनी हुई, बार बार वहां पर ऐसे कारनामे देखने को मिलते हैं। इससे पता चलता है कि वहां पर क्या स्थिति है। मेरा ममता दीदी से भी अनुरोध रहेगा, ऐसे लोग जो इन के पीछे हैं, उनके खिलाफ कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। केवल मूक दर्शक बनकर सरकार को नहीं रहना चाहिए। बाकी राज्यों में भी जहां ऐसी स्थिति है, उनको भी एक कार्रवाई समय रहते करनी चाहिए, ताकि ऐसे लोग जो उपद्रव मचाते हैं, पथराव करते हैं, समाज में तनाव पैदा करते हैं, उनके खिलाफ कड़ी कार्रवाई हो और इस पर रोक लगे।
And that does it for us here on the bulletin. I'm Aaron Lingdo. Thanks for watching.
Northeast Live, the most viewed news channel in the region. On YouTube, unmatched coverage.